Hey, what's up? It's Brian here, and in this video, I'm going to share, you guessed it, another perspective from the book, Life Lessons. So this is on fear. This is on page 131. Fear is a warning system that on a primal level serves us well. If we're walking late at night in a dangerous part of town, fear warns us to be on guard against a genuine possibility of trouble. In potentially dangerous situations, fear is a sign of health. It is a protector. Without it, we would not survive long. But it's easy to experience fear when there is no danger. That kind of fear is made up. It's not real. The feeling may seem real, but it has no basis in reality. Still, it keeps us up at night. It keeps us from living. It seems to have no purpose and no mercy. It paralyzes us and weakens the spirit when left unattended. It's summed up by the acronym FEAR, which stands for False Evidence Appearing Real. This type of fear is based in the past and triggers fear of the future. These invented fears do serve a purpose. They give us the opportunity to learn, to choose love. They are cries from our soul for growth, for healing. They are opportunities to choose again, to do it differently, to choose love over fear, reality over illusion, now over the past. And the author also goes on the next page, telling a quick story about a child coming from an abusive foster home. And then that child was adopted by loving parents, but that child still had a fear in their heart, even when they were in a loving environment. And the quote they say is, excuse me, he had lived in fear so long he could not see a future without it. So this whole idea of fear is so prevalent, or so relevant, I should say, in 2021, because media nowadays, social media, social conditioning influences out there, just negative influences from culture, they're encouraging people to be fearful. And this can go to specific categories of people, where they're talking about Democrats, Republicans, but it really goes to all angles of society. So for instance, Democrats might say, the Republicans are crazy, they're going to get you killed. And then Republicans might say the same thing about Democrats, right? And different groups of people, not just political parties, do the same thing. They instill fear in people. And again, this is so harmful because it gives you a twisted and distorted view of reality. And of course, I'm not talking about that fear that it mentions in the book, that fear of an actual danger, which can be good. I'm talking about the fear for something that's not actually real, right? And for this type of fear, you can even break this down into two more categories. One subcategory is fear directly from your own experiences from your past. So the fear is built from your own mind, right? So that type of fear, you have to overcome that. But I don't think that's the type of fear that I'm seeing most out there. I'm seeing the fear that's from negative influences out there, that's from social conditioning, that's from media propaganda, that's from negative parental influences out there. Like that type of fear you have to overcome, because that's not even from your direct experiences. That's from other people's experiences, and then media glorifying these negative experiences and getting you to be fearful, right? So this is so harmful because often when you have a fearful mind, you can't think clearly, right? And that thing that you're fearing, that's more likely to happen when you can't think clearly and you have that fearful state of mind. And this is so serious because I'm seeing how the media is playing with people's emotions. One example is the media always propping up stuff like, oh, black people should be scared of the police. I've seen this in interviews on CNN, msnbc, where they prop up these sort of ideas, even though people don't have these ideas. Some people do, but most people don't, but they prop up all this negativity, right? And it can have dire consequences. The young man, Mr. Wright in Minnesota, this was a high profile case where a cop shot at him and he died. And his parents afterwards said that he was scared of the police and put two and two together. That's why he acted irrationally and resisted arrest in that scenario, right? So if he just acted normally and didn't act crazy from his irrational fear, he would still be alive today, right? So that's the sort of thing where fear in that particular instance can literally kill someone. So that thing you're fearing, oh, the police are going to shoot me, that can get you to act crazy, and then you might die from that, right? So like this is actually happening, and people are encouraging people to have fear, which is so backwards. Like this whole idea of validating fears, you don't do that if it's paranoia. You don't do that if it's silly fears. You do not do that, right? Like, you can validate, like, oh, you as an individual, from talking to you one-on-one, you have that fear. That's great in terms of, I respect that you have that fear. But now let's dissect it. Let's analyze this fear. Is this just from your past, or is this just from something you saw on TV? Like, where does this fear actually come from? Right, so that's my challenge to you. Really reflect on your fears, every single one of them, and reflect next time you promote any sort of negativity, any sort of situation where you might tempt someone to be fearful in a situation. Really think hard about that. Why are you doing that? Is that helpful for that person to be fearful in that scenario? Right, so I really hope that this perspective on fear that this author shared in this book, and just the additional perspective that I offered, was helpful to you. Right, like, really analyze your fear. Where does it come from? And then once you see your fear, walk towards it and try to overcome it no matter what.
Overcome fear.